You can't wear a tank top 2 days in a row, and you can only wear your hair in a ponytail once a week. So I guess you pick today.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 2000s nostalgia movies.
I don't even have any good skills.
What do you mean?
You know, like nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills.
For this list, we'll be looking at movies that give us nostalgia for the 2000s through their casts, production design, music, and stories. We will only be including movies made in the 2000s on this list. So movies like The Social Network that bank on the decade's nostalgia but weren't actually made in it will not be included. Number 10. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Who knew that one of the best movies of the 2000s would have Jim Carrey playing a shy loner and Mark Ruffalo dancing in his underwear?
Only I could meet someone new. I guess my chances of that happening are somewhat diminished, seeing that I'm incapable of making eye contact with a woman I don't know.
This movie represents a very special time in early 2000s cinema when auteurs like Charlie Kaufman were taking major risks with their storytelling.
Ms. Krasinski was not happy, and she wanted to move on. We provide that possibility.
Krasinski was not happy.
Eternal Sunshine could have easily collapsed under the weight of its own ambition, but it holds together extraordinarily well. It also contained Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet at the height of their cultural powers, and Winslet's character is a great representation of the manic pixie dream girl trope that permeated the 2000s.
Okay.
Okay.
Her hair alone just screams nostalgia.
Really like your hair.
Thank you.
Number 9. Bring It On. Maybe it's a cliche to say, but they just don't make movies like Bring It On anymore.
I'm sexy, I'm cute, I'm popular to boot.
This is another example of those mid-budget teen movies aimed squarely at young females that permeated the late 90s and early 2000s.
Brittany, this is not a democracy, it's a cheerocracy. I'm sorry, but I'm overruling you.
This movie just barely squeaked into the new millennium, and as such, it shares an atmosphere with the teen movies of the 90s. The soundtrack is rife with early 2000s classics, featuring bands like Atomic Kitten, PYT, and even early 50 Cent. The cast is also very 2000s, featuring Gabrielle Union and a teenage Kirsten Dunst. It's no coincidence that she is in both this and Eternal Sunshine. Is she the key to 2000s nostalgia? Number 8. Sideways. A coming-of-age comedy for middle-aged men. Sideways is about a pair of unmoored friends taking a trip through California's wine country.
Oh, there's just like the faintest soupçon of like asparagus, and there's just a flutter of like a nutty Edam cheese.
One is a failed writer, and the other is an actor who is well past his prime. Sideways reminds us all of the mid-2000s, when smaller films like this could still make over $100 million at the box office, all while scoring multiple Oscar nominations. It also brings us back to the wine craze that followed the movie, specifically the drop in demand for Merlot and the increased consumption of Pinot Noir.
And if they want to drink Merlot, we're drinking Merlot.
No, if anybody orders Merlot, I'm leaving. I am not drinking any f***ing Merlot!
And finally, there's a very mid-2000s aura about the main cast, including Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church, both of whom were very popular at the time.
I like to think about what was going on the year the grapes were growing, how the sun was shining, if it rained.
Number 7. Napoleon Dynamite. Visually, Napoleon Dynamite looks like a movie from the 80s. However, that is entirely by design.
Napoleon, don't be jealous that I've been chatting online with babes all day.
The movie is depicting a small town that is stuck in time, where its fashions, technology, and interior decorations are decades behind. But the movie is incredibly 2000s, and any kid who grew up in that decade is sure to have fond memories of it.
Yeah, my old girlfriend from Oklahoma was gonna fly out here for the dance, but She couldn't because she's doing some modeling right now.
The very presence of John Heder just screams 2000s. Many teens of the time are also bound to remember Vote for Pedro t-shirts and now iconic lines like
"Freaking idiot!"
and
Your mom goes to college.
The entire movie is basically a meme at this point, and that's because everyone has fond memories of its release, hence the immediate impact that it caused. Number 6. Legally Blonde. Many people have very fond memories of Legally Blonde.
I think we should break up.
What?
So much so that many attorneys, law students, and journalists have cited it as an inspiration in their lives. For them, this is probably the ultimate comfort movie. Of course, you don't have to be a lawyer to have nostalgia for Legally Blonde.
You have a resume?
Yes, I do. Here it is.
It's pink.
That's generated through the soundtrack, which contains the likes of Black Eyed Peas and Vanessa Carlton. The mere presence of Reese Witherspoon, Luke Wilson, and Selma Blair in the same movie. The pink outfits, which were incredibly popular in sororities of the time. And even the mere look of the film, which straddles the line between 90s and 2000s. Watching this really takes us back.
Isn't it the first cardinal rule of perm maintenance that you're forbidden to wet your hair for at least 24 hours after getting a perm, at the risk of deactivating the ammonium thioglycolate?
Number 5. The 40-Year-Old Virgin. The impact of the 40-Year-Old Virgin is still being felt today. While it has intelligence and a heart, most people remember the 40-Year-Old Virgin as a raunchy and improvisational movie that launched Judd Apatow's career.
You feel it, and it feels like a bag of sand when you're touching it.
Bag of sand?
He's basically been making the same movie ever since. The film is also a glorious throwback to the mid-2000s.
You know what? I respect women. I love women. I respect them so much that I completely stay away from them.
There are countless pieces of outdated technology in the store, like a combination DVD and VHS player. The characters play poker, as the card game was really hot at the time. Trish owns an eBay store. The guys play an old Mortal Kombat game in Andy's. While still hilarious, the 40-Year-Old Virgin now serves as a nostalgic period piece.
Wow, that totally worked. I literally said nothing as she found me past.
I would have thought you were doing that for years.
Oh, should I have asked her out?
No, that's the key.
Number 4. The Fast and the Furious. We don't know what's more nostalgic, the general tone of the movie, the cars, or seeing young versions of all these popular actors.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
Let's start with the cast. It's very 2000s. Paul Walker was still an up-and-comer. Vin Diesel was a perfectly sculpted 30-something, and Michelle Rodriguez was barely out of her teens. There's the campy street atmosphere of the film, which seems like a carryover from the late 90s. And of course, there are the cars.
Hey, pop the hood.
Pop the hood?
Pop the hood. 2JZ engine.
What seemed cool and state-of-the-art back in the early 2000s is quite laughable today, and it really tends to date the movie. Modern viewers may find it hard to get into, but those who saw it back in 2001 are sure to have fond memories.
That railroad crossing up there is exactly a quarter mile away from here. On green, I'm going for it.
Number 3. Superbad. This movie doesn't seem as blatantly 2000s as the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
You changed your name to McLovin? McLovin? What kind of a stupid name is that, Fogel? What, are you trying to be an Irish R&B singer?
That's probably because it was actually written in the late 90s. And aside from a few pieces of then modern tech, Superbad had a weirdly ambiguous setting. It seems more like the 90s than it does the mid-2000s. The nostalgia isn't really found in the visuals, but in the cultural moment of the movie itself.
I don't know, man. I'm like really nervous.
Are you okay? No, man. I should have worn the vest.
Superbad was enormously popular, and it's one of those movies that everyone remembers watching, especially teens. It also made major stars out of Jonah Hill, Michael Cera, and Christopher Mintz-Plasse. When someone thinks back to the first time they saw those actors, it usually filters down to Superbad and the mid-2000s.
I'm not embarrassed.
Love you.
I love you. It's like, why don't we say that every day? Why can't we say it more often?
I just love you. I just want to go to the rooftops and scream, I love my best friend Evan.
Number 2. Mean Girls. Ask someone for one specific movie that defines the 2000s, and they'll eventually get to Mean Girls. If it's not their first answer, that is.
They're teen royalty. If North Shore was Us Weekly, they would always be on the cover.
That one there, that's Karen Smith. She is one of the dumbest girls you will ever meet.
Despite being one of 1,000 teen movies, Mean Girls stood out, and it still stands out today, being one of the most memed movies in existence. Its popularity continues not because it's a great movie, but because so many people have strong nostalgic links to it.
One time, she punched me in the face. It was awesome.
For millions, this was the movie of their teenage years. It defined that specific time in their lives, and it spoke to them in ways that other teen movies didn't. Watching Mean Girls is a time machine back to mid-2000s high school, and for many, that's a very comfortable place to be.
On Wednesdays, we wear pink.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Lost in Translation. Nothing says early 2000s like a middle-aged Bill Murray and a teenaged Scarlett Johansson.
What do you do?
I'm not sure yet, actually. I just graduated last spring.
Brokeback Mountain, a culturally significant movie that also happened to be robbed at the Oscars.
Why don't you just let me be, huh? Because of you, Jack, that I'm like this. Nothing. I'm nowhere.
High School Musical. This is still a guilty pleasure for all 2000s teenagers.
Living in my own world, didn't understand that anything can happen.
The Devil Wears Prada, a movie that defined the mid-2000s and kickstarted a national interest in high fashion.
What you don't know is that that sweater is not just blue, it's not turquoise, it's not lapis, it's actually cerulean.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Borat. Where do we even start with Borat? It's hard to imagine just how popular this movie was in 2006.
Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Borat.
You couldn't go anywhere without hearing someone quoting one of the many hilarious lines, nor could you avoid the relentless Borat impressions.
Naughty, naughty.
It's incredibly nostalgic from a pop culture perspective. However, it also works perfectly as a time capsule into mid-2000s America. Borat directly references the still fresh 9/11, meets prominent politicians of the time like Bob Barr, talks about President Bush and the war on terror, and brings iPods back to his village.
My name is Borat. I come from Kazakhstan.
Put simply, no other movie defines the 2000s quite like Borat, and it serves as the perfect vehicle for nostalgia.
It's nice.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.